What's up, y'all? It's your girls, Doe and Moe, and we're recording another episode of the Rooted Life Podcast. If you're new here, you know a little bit about us. You may not know a little bit about us, but we've been best friends for over 15 years. Wow. We started recording the podcast like 4 years ago. You know, had a little issue to work through. Not a tussle. Worked through some stuff last year, brought the podcast back, and now we're here with the Rooted Life Podcast. We love helping women grow in life and relationships. We do that by talking about all things faith, well-being, friendship, Jesus.
Oh, you
all
said
the
faith.
things.
That
I
counts.
said faith.
That counts.
You know, Jesus and faith. But if y'all can do us one thing, we won't ask for a lot from y'all.
We don't.
So just one little thing. If y'all can like and subscribe so that this gets pushed to other women who need it.
Yep. Easy. So last episode, we talked about how we basically broke up. Friendship was over, finito, dunzo, all the things. So now we're going to share with y'all, where's the friendship now? And then really talk about like, what are the challenges of adult friendship? Because baby, it's hard out here. It's hard out here. I was going to say it's hard out here but no. Okay. So,
that's for a pimp?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I stopped singing it. So I didn't say that on a Christian.
But we all knew what it was going to land at. So that's cool.
Okay.
Grows and glows?
Grows and glows.
I have a glow. I was going to say glow. No, I have a glow today.
Okay, glow up, baby.
My glow is that I've been prioritizing rest.
Wow.
And so went home to Atlanta for Mother's Day. And, you know, just proud of how I did not run the streets. Wow. You know, your girl is growing. And so I literally spent a lot of time with my family, as I said I was going to. I did get to see Renee. I got to see my mentor, Rashawn. But those are the only 2 stops that I made. And I wasn't reaching out to people, trying to link up. Like, I literally just was like, you know what? I'm home for rest. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm so proud. So
it looks, I mean, rest looks good on you.
Thank you.
It looks so good on you.
Appreciate that.
My grow and go, they're kind of one of the same strategy. I realized that I have a lot going on in this season. We got this. I'm serving at church. We got, what else? This.
this. I mean, this counts for 2.
This feels like a lot.
Because it's a job and then we have to like do the job.
Yeah.
You know?
And then I have a full-time job in which now I'm a regional. I'm over like 2 regions.
Come on, right? What? Come on, assistant to the regional manager, but a regional manager.
Okay, don't do that. I'm no,
you're like Michael.
I'm above Michael.
Like,
I'm like
Jan.
Jan. No, I'm Jan.
You're Jan. Okay.
Yeah, I'm Jan.
Yeah, you're Jan.
Because Michael's just at one side.
Or like David.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David might be like my boss, but I'm like Jan. Okay.
Yeah, either way.
It's a Michael. It's an office reference. Thank you so much. But I realized that I was trying to bring like old routines and old disciplines into this new season. And this new season is calling for much more discipline because my job and all the other things are requiring so much time. So I was trying to do the same level of discipline and routines in this season. And last week I was like, I'm overwhelmed. Like, I got to do my full-time job for at least a good 9 hours. I need to do 2 hours of Rooted Life. I'm supposed to serve at church on Sunday. I need to prepare for that.
Too much.
Trying to figure out where I'm going to live in 2 months. Like, I am overwhelmed. I watched the Dr. D podcast, him and Rich Wilkerson, and he was talking about strategy. So like every day he has a thing he does. Like Monday is this kind of day. Friday is for videos. Thursday is for strategy. Like he designs his day around like what is the strategy for that day, which is really helpful. So I put that into practice this week, feeling much better.
Okay. I love that.
It was great advice. I mean, as always, he called it a framework for your week.
Okay.
So he creates a framework for his week. So every day has a certain purpose for him, which
like
I thought was really, really wise.
I might be pulling that in. That
I've done it.
For me.
It was very helpful. I'll send you the link.
Love it. Well, this episode, we are talking about our friendship again.
Yes, ma'am.
But part 2, you know, so last episode, we basically caught y'all up on what kind of went down last year. This episode, we're going to talk about where we are now and really just the whole concept of what it means to be a friend as an adult and all the challenges and complexities that come along with that. So where are we now? How's our friendship?
Where are we?
How are things going? What are you
we?
thinking? And what are you prioritizing like in our friendship and just in friendships in general this season?
I say that I was trying to think of a phrase. It feels like a nice deep breath. Like a nice deep exhale.
Okay.
And that feels very like relaxing. There feels like there's more freedom in the friendship. It feels like there's more room for us to be ourselves. It feels like there's just more grace, but freedom. It feels more free and easy. I don't know how, because we put so much work in, and we are putting a lot of work in. But yeah, freedom feels like it. It feels lighter, but it also feels like it has more depth. And I don't know how we're able to make it feel light, but it hasn't lost the depth. It's not surface level. So that just feels, it just warms my heart. how am I showing up differently? I think I'm just working on myself, baby. I think a lot of times in relationships, even online, we hear a lot about like what everybody else needs to do in the relationship. I'm like, worry about yourself. If I could get my heart right, I will be okay. I read a quote yesterday that was basically saying like everyone around you is just a mirror to yourself. Like you're really just interacting with yourself all day. So I'm like, if that's the truth, then I need to be, if I have a problem with everybody else, it's really a problem I need to work on in my own heart. So the pivot for me is like, worry about yourself. Get your pride in line. Stop worrying about what you think Dorian needs to do or not do. And just worry about how can you show up and be a good friend and be a good leader and be a good sister and be a good daughter. So I'm just turning the finger. You.
That's good.
That's me.
That's good. I feel like when I think about our friendship now, I was thinking about, so when I went home to Atlanta, it's home, but like so many things are different. Yeah. And so it's like there've been all these different like upgrades and changes to the space, or we're, you know, put some different paint up, or like my bedroom has been, it's still a bedroom, but now it's the guest bedroom versus being like my bedroom. So little things like that. But there've been all these like slight shifts. But when I go home, I still know where everything is. Like it's still home. Analogy. And so I think that's what I think of about our friendship. It's like upgrades have been made because we're changing and things are improving and some things are new, but it's still home. It's still familiar. So there's this like freshness to it, but this comfortability at the same time, which I think is really beautiful.
Dang, that was a good analogy, girl.
Thank you.
That was a strong analogy. Strong. Wow. Stupid. So good. No, I'm serious. That was really good. Wow. Thanks. Touched my heart. Okay. So what are we talking about next? Oh, Lord. I guess when I'm thinking about our friendship, I think we've both done a lot of like assessing and reflecting on like what didn't go well. And I think one of the things I noticed is like we were just slow to pivot. Like there are some things we need to do quicker. And I think the reason why it took us so long to pivot is that we weren't doing that regular maintenance. Like we had so much going on in our life. And by the time we realized the friendship was basically trash, it was like, because we hadn't done any work to maintain it and get it to a good place. So I'm just curious to hear like, what does friendship maintenance look like for you in this season of your life? And what's some of the biggest lessons you're learning in your friendships?
I think like maintenance for me is being more attentive. Like that's the thing that I'm focused on in this season.
That's good.
We were just talking about like all the different things that are on our plates. And I think it's easy to get consumed with those things to the point where you start to forgo caring for your relationships in a really intentional way. Sometimes it's just like you go through the whole day. If you're like deep in work, you may not even check your phone, you know, so then you haven't checked on your people and it's like, hey, how's your day going, you know? So little things like that. I think that's like, I guess the lesson part of what I'm learning is like the small touch points matter. Even if it's like a little check-in or like I think like yesterday I was like, oh dang, I ain't talked to Mo. So I was like, I'm gonna send you a quick voice note, just be like, hey, what you doing, this was going on over here, you know, just like quick checking in. Okay, love you, have a good day. But then like the maintenance piece is like when we do spend time together, making sure that I'm being intentional about being present in that moment and not letting my mind travel to all the other things that are on my plate, but can afford to take a back seat so that I can be present here in this relationship. And I'm applying that not just here, but you know, with my boyfriend, like with other friendships, with my family even. So that's been like my biggest lesson.
That's good. I think my maintenance is back to what I already said, getting that heart in line. Pride.
Yeah. Self-maintenance.
Like, pride really be trying to sabotage all your relationships.
Really do. Rude.
Really. And you think you feel justified, but it's like, it's just your pride.
Yeah.
So I think just checking my pride, just quickly noticing my own resistance. There's just so much resistance I have to things that like, why are you being resistant to somebody else's idea? Like, why are you so offended? By nothing.
By nothing. Just that it's not yours. That was me yesterday. Someone suggested something. I was like, I don't like it.
For what? Why are you so upset?
I literally right after I was like, that's a good idea though. I was like, yeah. But inside I'm like, I hate it.
But it's like, you'll probably be ready to fighting for your life and you don't even have to. It's the weirdest thing. And so I feel like just recognizing that pride, being open to like hard conversations. And then just, I really want to be a good cheerleader in this season. I feel like I want everybody in my life to know, I was telling Doe earlier, it's like Issa, like I'm rooting for everybody black. Like I want everybody in my life to know, like I am rooting for you. I want to see you win. And I want to be like a safe place for people in my life. I think even as I think about friendships, like my sister is like, that's a friendship. But sometimes I forget that. So I've been working on like developing my friendship with my sister. So we've been doing a devotional together, or I'll send her an audio note like, oh, that's actually like, that's my girl. You know, shout out to you. That's my girl, you know? So also just thinking about like, how can I be a good cheerleader and like be a safe place for people in my life? And I think the biggest lesson is like, baby, over communicate. I think we always assume that people are on the same page as us, or we think that like, oh, because I think you're going to do this, because I had this idea, I'm somehow thinking you're telepathic and you're going to know my idea. But it's like, you just got to over communicate at every point. And I'm just learning to get really, really clear about how I'm communicating. Otherwise, you make assumptions, there's gaps. So over communicating, I feel like, is a lesson I'm learning, and that's helping. I think that's helping us too, even in our business. Like, we just have to over communicate. Yeah. Even yesterday when I was about to do the reel for the event, you're like, I saw you apply, because you're like, I should have gave you more direction. And then in that example, you're like, in this instant, you're like, here's the direction I'm looking for. And I'm like, thank you. Yeah. No, I didn't know. But even then, it's like, okay, let's just over communicate. So I think that's a piece of friendship maintenance, is that clear communication.
And I will add on to that and say, like, apply, like exactly what you just said. Like, one of the lessons that I've learned is like, if someone tells you something or gives you feedback or says like, hey, I really prefer if we do this thing, or like, hey, is there any way that you know, we can change this thing? But being able to quickly pivot, I feel like it's also important in healthy relationships, because it's easy to hear what someone says and then be like, okay, and then do the same thing. I mean, how many times have we all done that? Someone says something and you're like, okay, cool. And the next time you do the exact same thing, and it's not about getting it perfect, but are you even trying to incorporate in order to grow and move the friendship along? Speaking of growing, so both of us have dealt with a lot of change as it relates to friendships. I feel like, you know, friendships changing is hard. Like, it is hard. It's really hard to kind of like be open to the ebbs and flows of what a relationship can look like. We've dealt with it individually, and I can speak even from my own life. Like, some of those changes have led to the friendship dissolving and not being in relationship with that person. So, but change is good. Like, from a broad perspective, change is good. And so why do you think that change is important in friendships? And what is sometimes waiting on the other side of that change that we're not even aware of?
Yeah, I think the friendship growing or changing can be a sign that like the individuals in the relationship are growing. And I think my own fear, and you kind of mentioned just now, I realized is like my fear around change is that we're going to change so much that we're not even going to be friends. Yeah. Like, that's really the fear of like, if we change too much, like, we're going to drift apart. And I'm just glad that you voiced it. I'm like, oh, that is my fear when my friendships are shifting or looking differently. Like, my ultimate fear is like,
we won't be friends.
We're not going to make it. We ain't going to make it in this change. But it's like, to that point, sometimes we assume that change is going to be negative or change is going to be bad. Good, but really, change like opens up new possibilities, new depth. Like you said, we got a whole new house, baby. We done remodeled the house of our friendship. It's looking new and fresh. But if we were so resistant, we never would have experienced something new and better that we didn't even know existed. And so I think just being like open to something new. And I think you said it in one of our little Bible study of like, things have to die for new things to spring up. Like, that is the cycle of life. And if we weren't willing to let go of that older version of our friendship, we wouldn't even know we were missing out on this. But I think that if you're willing to lean into the fear that like, I might lose this friendship, but I'm going to do everything I can to keep it going. I'm going to over communicate. I'm going to apply the feedback. The other side of that is you get to experience a version of the friendship that you didn't even know existed. Because I didn't know this existed in French. Like, how would we have known?
No, we wouldn't have. And we were resisting it the whole time. Truly. Because we were afraid. I mean, I think that gets to like what I think about is like, we're holding on so tightly because we're like, this is the best version. This is the best version. And you don't even have a concept of what best looks like.
Silly.
It's on the other side. Like, that's really, you know, when you talk about what's waiting on the other side of change, is often like the new best.
Yeah, that's good.
Like, the next best version is there for you. But we're clinging so tightly to what it is that we know that we're like, nah, this is it. This is it. And you don't even know.
Which is so silly, because we don't know anything.
No.
As humans, like, when you've done that, you've never been right. When you're like, I'll hold on to this, will be the best. And it's like, why do we keep running the same play that doesn't even work? Ooh. It doesn't work. Every time I've held on to something too tightly, I've lost it.
Yeah. I mean, you squander
Yeah.
Whatever you hold on to tightly, you squander.
Anything, a job, a plant. I mean, literally, like we were meant to have freedom in the way that we move. And I think sometimes our fear will have us like suffocate, hover. I think of like a helicopter parent. It's like your intentions are to do well, but you're not even giving that thing room to grow and understand and breathe. So,
oof. I think about the things of my past that I was like, this is the best. And I think about that thing right now being the Dorian that I am right now. And I'm like, you're an idiot. You wanted to hold on to that job, that relationship, that apartment, that, whatever, that car. I'm like, 10 years later, that joint is junk.
It's a joke.
It's junk.
Even a version of yourself too. Like you could think that's the best version of you, but God has so much more. And if we was, that scripture, like lean out into your own understanding. It's like, I have to remember that I don't know what I'm doing.
You really don't.
But again, pride will have you thinking, well, I know this is the best. Yeah. And it's like, baby, you know this much about the world and even yourself. And so I think if we just keep reminding ourselves like, there's so much more for me to learn and experience and know in my relationships and myself, I can be more open to that possibility and not be so prideful and thinking I know everything and this is the best.
Yep, that's good.
It's just so silly. Why would I think this is the best?
There's always better.
There's always better. That's a good word.
There's always better.
There's always better. Okay.
That's good.
Encourage me. Okay, so let's be honest though. People could see our friendship, watch us online and be like, oh, it's just making friends for them. It's just so easy. Look at them. They're just thriving. But the truth is like friendship's been, I think, a tender spot for us and probably for a lot of people listening. So I'd love to hear like what's been challenging or what is challenging when it comes to making friends as an adult woman. Walk us through it, baby.
Like, you don't get a blueprint, number one. I think making friends like in your younger years, it just feels so natural. And it just happens. Like you just are around people all the time. You're like a little kid and your parents are like, we're going to the playground. It's like, great. There's other little ones here. I'll just grab them and we're best friends now. Like, let's just hang out and play. So it seems so simple as a child, but I think it seems more simple because there's less awareness. I think we have less awareness of us. And,
that's true.
And the older you get, you're more aware of even some of your flaws and how that may come across to people. And so I think sometimes that makes you a little bit more fearful in trying to pursue relationships because it's like, well, will people like me? Will they think this is weird? Like generally, like, is someone going to accept me for who I am?
Exactly, yeah.
And that can be a scary thing as an adult because now, insecurities play a role in all of these different fears. And so I think it's really this aspect of like, there's all these open questions that we have as we're pursuing adult friendships. Like, we've been texting, but when can I call? And then when can I call unannounced? And then when are they cool with a FaceTime? And then like, can I ask them to go hang out? Are they going to think I'm weird? If they deny me more than one time, is this their way of saying they don't actually want to hang out? Like there's all these things. And so there's Nidra who, I don't even know what to call her. She's a psychologist
for sure,
but almost like a influencer version, I
like
guess.
A thought leader.
Thought leader in psychology and building healthy relationships, well-being, all of that stuff.
She's great. Look her up.
And definitely look her up. But in her last newsletter, she had talked about treating making friends as like dating, and she was like, if you go somewhere and hang out with someone. And she's like, get their number so that you can like follow up with them and engage with them. And so it was just funny to think about applying some of those same things to romantic relationships, to friendships.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I had a friend date maybe like a month ago and I'm like, ooh, we hit it off. So I texted after. I was like, I had such a good time with you. And then we went to dinner this week.
Yeah.
Randomly.
Which
had
like
a
you
wonderful
would do
time.
in a relationship.
You
had such a great time.
And then she texted me after I'm like, oh my God, we're becoming friends. Like she just texted me randomly. This is a real friendship.
Oh,
big fan of her. She's really great. I think for me, I like what you said about the insecurities because ultimately you're afraid that someone's going to reject you. And nobody wants to experience rejection. But as a fear of rejection, that means sometimes we won't even move forward in finding a friendship because that fear will prevent us from even just trying, forward. And even if someone does reject your friendship, that's not a rejection of you as a person. It's just like that friendship wasn't
a good
fit.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like that's human. It's funny because I remember asking my mom that when I moved to DC, we were on the phone. I was like, Ma, so how do adults like make friends? Like what's the plan here? Like, cause like you said, we go to school together. So it's like, I'll see you in the cafeteria. I'll see you at a party. Like I'll see you around. But when people become adults and they got family and you a leader at your job and you got a side hustle, like it requires so much more work, and we're just busier. So it's just harder to make times. I feel like that's a piece of it. But it's also like on the flip side of what you're saying about insecurities, like I'm becoming so much more clear about me, that who I'm interested in spending time with, that group has dwindled down because I'm clear about me. I'm clear about the kind of person I want to spend my time with, the kind of person I want to listen to, the kind of person I want to let speak into my life. Like I'm just so much more picky. I guess that is the word. Cause I'm like, all of y'all can't be speaking into my life. Like I don't even want to spend time with you. In no weird way. It's just like, I need people who can pour into me because I'm pouring out so much at work, at church, with the Rooted Life, with the women I mentor. Like I need people who I feel like are going to bring life into me. And so I just feel like I'm just more selective, and that makes it harder because now the qualifications list is like, and I think you got to be mindful. Like I'm not saying you got to, meet a criteria, but it's like, I need you to love Jesus. Like there's just some things I can't negotiate. Whereas like in my 20s, that list was like anybody, I'll be your friend. But now it's like not really. Not really, baby.
That's real. That's real. Being mindful of the types of friends that you want to keep around you. Yeah. And the types of friends that are going to move you forward in life. I think that's also, the older you get, the more you are thinking about your legacy, your future, your purpose, not just connecting with people purely for enjoyment, but connecting with people that you can do life with, because life is a lot. And so you're looking for the people who you can walk alongside, not just to go hang out and have a good time, but when you need to call somebody because things are on their head and you're like, hey, I need you to pray with me, or, can we take a walk, whatever it is. But like the friends that can support you through some of the hard things too.
Yeah. Somebody gave me a really good analogy a couple months back of like, when you're having friends and people in your life, and it's similar to an analogy Dr. Darius made, but it's like, if you're on the stage, everybody's not backstage with you. Some people are in the lobby. Some people are in the audience. But I think part of it too is like with friendships, it's like seeking God for discernment about like, God, what is his purpose? What is this person's purpose in my life? Yeah. Because even if we're not in the same place, if I feel like God is calling me to be your friend and like spend time with you and pour into you, like there's women, people in my life where I'm like, we not on the same page. Yeah. But I do feel drawn to be there for you and listen. And so I think part of it is like seeking God for that discernment, because it's like that kind of friend, if we go out to coffee, that person's in the lobby of my life. So I'm not letting them backstage. I will listen. I will be transparent. I'll be open. But you're not getting the nitty gritty of like what I'm struggling with, what I'm wrestling with, because you're not there to be able to hold it. And my mentor talks about that a lot too, of like, there's some people you're called to pull up and some people that are pulling you up, and to be mindful of that and knowing who to share. And that's something my mom has to like, because I'm kind of like a person, like I'm gonna tell you everything, because my mom's like, everybody don't need to know everything, Morgan. That's like, right. And I think part of that is that discernment about what is this person's purpose in my life, because I don't want to be prideful enough to think that I know, well, because we don't believe the same thing. And it's like, no, but maybe there's something God is calling me to do here, and to remain open-handed to what God wants, and to discern like, is this person in the audience in my life? Are they in the lobby? Yeah. Are y'all backstage with me helping put my makeup on? Like, I think getting really clear about people's purpose and your purpose in their life is really important too.
Yeah. That's good. Okay. Well, we have each other.
We do, thankfully.
Which is great. Thank you, God. And also, we both know through this friendship that having other community is super important. Yeah. Yeah. Talk about that. Why do you think that's important?
I think we learned the hard way. You know what's hard about this friendship is that I've said this many times and I still stand by it. Like, you're an everything friend. And that's what made this, it's hard for me to find other friends outside of you, because you're the kind of friend that like, I could talk about a book with, I could send you an article, I can send you a clip about psychology. We can listen to trap. We can go skate at Cascade in Atlanta. We can record a podcast. We can do a Bible study. Like, everybody doesn't get a friend that they can do so many things with. And so it's hard for me to branch out. And we talked about this before. It's like, because nobody's competing with you, period. They're not competing with you. They do a great job, but I think it has been challenging. But I realized that in the past, I put a little bit too much pressure on you to do all those things, because I wasn't investing in other really great friendships in my life, because you just fulfill a lot of the things I desire, to be honest. But it's unhealthy and it's unfair to put that much weight on one person. So I think the importance is like, I want a sustainable friendship. And if I only have one friend who I call for everything, I'm putting a lot of weight and pressure on them to show up. And there might be other people in my life who really can show up, but I haven't even given them a chance, because I just assume, well, I'm just gonna let Doe carry everything. And that's just unfair. It's not sustainable. And I think different friends bring different perspectives, different life experiences. And so I've been learning one to bring it to God first and like sit with that for like sit in the discomfort by myself, bring it to God first, and then like think about like, okay, who has a life experience, who has wisdom?
Yeah.
Is this something I need to ask my mentor about, something I need to ask my mom about, something I need to ask my boss about, and just really getting clear about the people who God has put in my life and not put so much pressure on one person to be everything for me. And I think some things I've done to expand my circle is like just try to be friendly to other women when I go out. Like I went to a concert. There was a lady beside me. I went to this Usher event and there was a group of women. I was sitting at their table. They were all friends. So, you know, once in a while I would laugh and joke, just trying to be like, just be friendly to other women. I started a book club in my building. Even my neighbor, when she moved in next door to me, I said, hey. So we run into each other and I'm just like, how you doing, girl? What's up? Like just trying to be friendly, I think is a first good step. Even if you don't know the future of that friendship, I still want to be friendly. So I know people in my neighborhood. I know I know also my dog is. Yeah. Maya. She's very popular in our building.
Ambassador.
She is an ambassador.
Silver Spring. Walking around. Hello.
Hello. So I think just being friendly has been a really good first step. And if I see somebody who I could connect with, I just say like, hey, I think we could be friends. Like, I just say it honestly. Like, I think we might be able to be friends. Like, do you want to get coffee? Or like, hey, you seem really dope. I feel like we got a little vibe. You want to, that's how my one friend, I was like, you want to get breakfast? Like, I feel like we got a little vibe going. It could be something. But sometimes just voicing it and just be like, these are my intentions. Like, I think we could be friends.
Oh my gosh.
Or then later on, I'll be like, at the end of that coffee date, I was like, oh my God, we're friends. It happened. I'm so excited. So I think sometimes just saying it gets the elephant, you know, just calling the elephant out.
Yeah.
Those are some things.
No, those are good.
Some things.
I think, you know, what I learned from our friendship too is because we are so similar that we don't always provide, like we provide different perspectives, but they're often very aligned.
Very similar.
So I think what has been great about developing other friendships has been like expanding the opportunity to shift my perspective on things. Just things that I like. Sitting with Esther or sitting with Liberty, like I get different perspectives on things, which is really dope. And so I appreciate that. Like it gives me an opportunity to grow because I get to hold space for how more people think, how more people see the world, and then kind of bring that back to me and filter it through and be like, okay, well, where do I stand on this thing, or what do I think and believe about this thing? And so to your point about just letting people know like your intention, one of my newer friends I met like at a kickback. So I was at a place with a bunch of other people and we kind of vibed the same thing. And I was just like, girl, I feel like this has been great. Similarly, I'm like, can I get your number? Like maybe we can go on a walk or something. And then like Michelle has become one of my newest, closest friends, just like from getting to hang out, enjoy time in the neighborhood. You know, it's been a really sweet time, but it came from just voicing and then taking the initiative to be like, hey, let's hang out. And so, you know, we go back and forth reaching out to each other. But yeah, it makes a difference when you just like, you don't have to like hide the fact that you are looking for friends. Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things. Like as an adult, we all be like, it's so hard to make friends. And then we just all be sad in our corners, walking the streets alone. Right. And it's like,
make a friend.
You can just say like, I want to make more friends. I'm looking for friends. Like, I feel like we connected. So it's not anything to be ashamed about because, you know, the seasons of life change. Like you move to a new city, your friends move away. Your friends now are married with babies and they don't have as much time and you're still single and you want to, you know, be able to go get dinner, things like that. So it's all right if you don't have friends. All that
it is. And I think also like you have to put yourself out there.
You do.
That means you have to go to places. That means you have to talk to people. It can be nerve-wracking sometimes, but I think if you're in an event and you all are both at the event, start talking about the event. Yeah. Like, what you think about this artist? Or how did you think about this artist? Or what did you think about that album? Like, thinking about something you both already have in common because you're at a central location. Oh, like, what'd you get to eat? Like, I think that's a good way to start building that muscle of talking to somebody that you don't know, is thinking about what you all have in common and then build that, and then also just ask them a lot of questions. Like people love talking about themselves. Like don't be weird, but being like, oh, so how long have you lived in the city? Like, oh, do you come to this area a lot? Like sometimes I talk to people and they're just like, they don't know how to interact. So I'm like, if you ask people really thoughtful questions and you're attentive, like you talked, people are going to want to be your friend.
Yeah, they'll engage.
They'll want to. And I think the other thing I was thinking about with friends too is finding friends who are at different stages of life has been really beautiful.
Yes.
Like finding people who've been mothers, finding people who are married, finding people, just having people at different stages of your life is so cool because they're giving me wisdom. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like I would have never even thought or guessed that. Like that is so helpful to know. So I think that's also a piece that's really, really beautiful.
I will add to that. I think like the generational friends, I think is also pretty cool. The older you get, you're also just crossing paths with people in different like true like decades, if you will. And so it's like now I find myself having like friends in their 40s who've been like married and have, you know, like Rashawn is my friend, you know what I mean? Which is like crazy to say because I'm like, she has a daughter going to college, but it's like I get to learn so much from her and engage with her. So I think also just being open to the idea that like friends may not all be same age as you, doing the same type of work as you, same race as you. We got a whole podcast episode on branching out your friendships just from people who look different from you, and then how that opens a whole new world of perspective and learning and growth. So good stuff. Oh,
it is good
so
stuff.
Tender.
It is tender. And I think I'm thinking about in terms of like what our takeaways are. I think that like friendships are hard. I just want to say that. Like it's not hard. And even though we're online, it looks like, oh, friendship's easy for them. It's not easy for us. This friendship basically fell apart. Like this should be evidence. It's not easy. It's not easy. But I think if I think about what my biggest takeaway is that I think don't let the fear of rejection prevent you from moving in direction of having really meaningful friendships. Yeah. Like don't let the fear of rejection, like there's something beautiful on the other side. Like if you could fight through the fear of rejection, like we were saying, there's going to be something beautiful on the other side that's going to really bless you and bless your life. So I say just keep leaning through that discomfort and that fear, and I think you'll be surprised on the other side. Yeah.
I mean, similar, you'll also be surprised on the other side when you stop resisting so much change in your friendships. Yeah. Like, and I think in addition to resisting the change, not blaming the other person for the friendship changing.
That's good. Yeah.
It's no one's fault that y'all are growing and that your lives look different. It's a blessing that your lives look different and that you're growing. And so embrace those blessings along with the fact that the relationship now gets an opportunity to be its next best version.
Next best version. Yeah. That was like a t-shirt. Well, y'all, that was another episode. Well. Another episode. We hope this blessed y'all. We'd love for you to, like Dorian said earlier, subscribe. If this would, if there's somebody you're trying to be friends with, there's somebody you want to encourage, go ahead and share this with them. Leave a comment here, even on Apple Podcasts. Let us know how this content is landing with y'all, and we just hope that you stay encouraged in your journey of friendships. And we're just going to be believing that God has so much more in store for you when it comes to friendships. We love y'all, and we hope you stay rooted.